Welcome back to the Mastering Runeterra podcast with Jason and Henneky. Today, Bay is out trying to win a Flesh and Blood tournament in Dallas, Fort Worth. So if you happen to be at that tournament or in Dallas, go say hey to our man Bay. We have a great show for you today. Before we jump into everything, though, we have to give a few shout outs to all of our patrons. Thank you guys so much for supporting us and letting us make awesome content like this podcast for you. Also go check out Runeterra Radio if you want more awesome Runeterra content. Saucy and Blevins are the absolute best. I love you guys. It's our sister podcast. You can find them all the usual places: YouTube, iTunes, Spotify. And then if you haven't done so yet, go check out our new website, masteringruneterra.com. We've got deck techs and news and articles, opinion pieces. Later today, I'm going to be putting up a matchup grid so you can easily go and locate, who wins a certain matchup or what percentage taken from the Masters leaderboard, which will be very useful in the upcoming weeks, as we have a big balance patch coming next week, which I actually did not realize, which is something we'll talk about a little bit. Okay, and with all that said, thank you, Henneky, so much for joining me. For anyone that doesn't know who you are, is it still the case that you've played in 5 seasonals and top 32 of the top 32 4 of them?
I've only played 4 seasonals. So one of them I chose not to play, which was the most recent one. The previous one I couldn't get up to like 120 LP or whatever it was to play. Like I was like 600 LP the week of. And then I just started playing like Tia Fizz and like losing. This is like the Lissandra seasonal. And then I thought like, I'm going to play Lissandra. It's just going to be so easy. I'm just going to get the 120 LP. And apparently I don't know how to play Shadow Wild's Failure Control at all. So that did not go so well.
Dude, that's wild.
Yeah, it was rough.
So you've only played in 4 total.
Yeah.
And you've top 32 3 of them.
I've top 32 4 of them. So all of them. And then I've top 4.
No, there was... No, wasn't there one that you played in and didn't top 32?
No.
This whole time, I've been being like, your record's insane. 5 seasonals, 4 top 32s, 3 top 4s. Well, no way. Are you serious? It's actually 4 for 4? No.
Yeah, I mean, I count the 5th one as a loss. Like, if I can't get the 120 LP, I was
you
not
cut the one that you didn't play in as a loss? I thought there was one you didn't play in plus one that you actually didn't top 32.
I mean, I guess I didn't play it technically, but I mean,
if you didn't register, if you didn't like play the first round, to me, you didn't play in that.
Okay, I guess I didn't play. I'm 4 for 4. It sounds better.
That's
anyways.
Absurd.
Yeah. I've
that's
run
insane.
hot, I suppose.
I mean, sure, you run hot for like 1 or 2. Running hot for 4 is like pretty absurd. These are 1,000-person tournaments that you typically need to go 8-1 or better. How many did you go? I know you went 9-0 in one of them. How many did you 7-2? How many did you 8-1? How many did you? How many did you 9-0?
So the first 2 I top 32 were the 5-0 tournaments. So
the 5-0 ones. Okay,
those were a bit shorter and really really weird format. And then after that, I've 9-0'd one, and then 7-2'd once.
Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. Not that it's so easy to go 5-0. I guess technically it's a... What do you think is easier, 5-0 or 8-1?
I think 7-2 is easier than 5-0, but I would probably say that...
7-2 is definitely easier.
But I would say like 8-1 is probably just as hard, if not harder, because there's like less spots. There's only like 12 8-1s or something like that.
Yeah, fair enough. 4 for 4. That's absolutely absurd. And so this last seasonals, last weekend, you decided to, for anyone that doesn't know, it's Thanksgiving in Canada. So you decided to take off the whole weekend to spend with family. Smart choice. I decided to battle through, and so like my family was coming over around like 6 Pacific time, which is like maybe around like when round 8 was gonna like end or something.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, like worst case scenario, they'll be here if I'm like still in, even like maybe like good chance I won't be in and like I can just F off. But like worst case scenario, it's like one more round when they're here and like no big deal. And then I don't know if you saw, but there was just all kinds of like delays and like rounds getting pushed back. So yeah, everyone's basically just like, I can like smell this delicious turkey feast that's like happening in like the room beside me, and everyone's like laughing and having a good time and stuff, while I'm just like trying to play the last couple rounds. Like, okay, so like if they attack here, oh my god, I gotta get some of that turkey. Oh, stuffing smells so good. So that was I thought of you in that moment. Was like, maybe I made the wrong decision. Maybe I should just skip this one altogether.
I remember I caught the last bit of your stream, and after you were done your round, like you just left the screen there, and I was like, I wonder what he's doing. I wonder what he's feeling right now. And now that you mentioned that, I can just picture you just pounding back at the turkey and just enjoying your life.
That's exactly. Yeah, I forgot to turn off the stream. I'm like, oh, people thought I like rage quit. Yeah. It was just like, done with this. But no, I was like, oh, family, I'm so sorry, and like ran over, like my food was getting cold and stuff, and I was just like, just mowing food. Explaining to everyone how I lost, which was unfortunate. For anyone that doesn't know, I was 7-1 going in the last round. I won the first game and then lost the next two. I'm pretty sure that both rounds that I lost, my opponent, for anyone that doesn't know, I was on Ping City, Scion Draven, and Fizz Poppy, so like kind of like the burn lineup. It did quite well. I like 2-0'd my first. I got a buy the first round because my opponent didn't show up, and I 2-0'd the first 4 or 5 rounds after that. I think it was 6-0. And then I think both the rounds that I lost, my opponents banned. So previously, my opponents had banned Scion Draven, and I crushed them with the other 2 decks. The ones that I lost, they banned Fizz, Poppy, and Scion Draven O2'd both times. Actually, I think the last round they banned Pink City. And I won with Fizz, Poppy. Anyway, both those losses, though, like Scion Draven didn't get there. And some of that definitely might have been on me because I didn't practice Scion Draven a lot, expecting that, 1, the deck would get banned a lot, and 2, that like maybe the power level would just kind of like carry me. But I'm scared to go back and look at my matches because like I'm scared to just be like, oh yeah, you should have done this, you should have done that. You should. Truthfully though, my draws were quite bad. I remember back like mulliging 3 or 4 cards and getting like a bunch of burn and like a 3-drop or something and just doing nothing until turn 3. Anyways, that was my seasonals experience. I can't believe that you've gone 4 for 4 in seasonals and still you were like, nah, I don't need that money.
I mean, I think if there was a seasonal takeoff, it would be this one, right? I mean, we got the announcement that the seasonals doesn't count for anything in terms of Worlds qualification. And I mean, at this point, I've been in enough seasonals that it's like, I mean, it's just another one to me. For me, it's like, if I'm playing it, it's because I want to go big. I want to qualify for Worlds. I want to participate in the bigger events. I mean, we saw Worlds like last month, and it was huge. It was awesome. The tournament was super exciting, and that's where I want to be. I also think that like this is it's really important for competitive players to have breaks. Usually after seasonals, like I feel really burnt out, so I usually take off like the first week of every expansion just to like reset and then come back to the game with a fresh mind. It's always like I've always kept up with the scene. Like I've always watched streams and stuff like that. But sometimes I just need a bit of time away from the game, not really always thinking about it because, as a competitive Runeterra player, like honestly, it's like almost always on my mind. Like I'm in class, I'm thinking about the Mystic Shouting Face or something like that all the time. So it's kind of exhausting to always be doing that. So it's nice to come back and take some time off. I
100% agree with you. I'm really bad at it. I'll like take like 1 day or 2 days. Like, okay, I'm good. Like back. I'll be so exhausted. I'll be like, I need to get away from it. And then I'll take a couple days and then it'll just get like sucked back in. But I'm like, oh, that deck looks interesting. I want to try that out. What do you try and like do other things while you take time off? Do you try and like focus on, is there other stuff that, I don't know, that helps you sort of like de-stress or decompress?
I play a lot of other video games too. I'm kind of a huge nerd. I'll play like League, I'll play Valorant, play all the other stuff as well. Just with some friends, just to hang out, chat, and it's kind of also an intensive activity, so there's not really time to think about LOR when you're playing other games. So that's a good way for me to think about other stuff. But on top of that, like I'm also a student in school, so I also have somewhere I have to be committing my time on top of that.
Right. Yeah, speaking of other games, I was shocked to find out that you don't come from like a card gaming background. Like this is like the first like card game that you've kind of played like seriously, right?
Yeah, I would say seriously. I played a couple mobile games. Like I played the Plants vs Zombies card game, PvZ Heroes.
Oh,
It's an
I didn't
interesting
know that
game.
was a thing.
It's not. It has some interesting ideas, but it's not the most balanced card game for sure. It's got some weird RNG elements. And then I also played like Duel Links, the Yu-Gi-Oh mobile version, which is like also kind of the same. Yu-Gi-Oh is a weird card game. I
Oh,
don't
cool.
know. It's not. I think it's really poorly designed, but that's a whole other point.
Yeah, I've heard interesting things from those in the community that came from Yu-Gi-Oh. I don't really get it, but people seem to really enjoy it, so that's cool. But yeah, but you didn't play those a lot, right? And those
Hmm.
games are also quite a bit different than Runeterra.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, did so take me in the way back machine here, because like I've only sort of known of your career like since you were crushing seasonals, but like when did you start playing? And did the game kind of like come easy to you? Did you find success right away? Did you watch streamers and stuff? Take me back to that like kind of journey from like finding out about Runeterra and trying it for the first time all the way to like, maybe your first seasonals kind of breakout.
Yeah, so I played League a lot before I got into LOR, and so when I heard they were releasing a card game, a buddy of mine was like, who played a lot of Hearthstone, was like, wow, this looks like a lot of fun. So we got into the closed beta when they had like the Twitch drops and stuff like that. That's when I first started playing Runeterra. But after like the game actually came out, I didn't get into it right away. I actually didn't start until like I think it was like the August or the July during Rising Tides, um, and it didn't really come to naturally. Like I was plat for a good chunk of time. I was trying to figure out what kind of player I wanted to be, what kind of or basically how to play the game from a fundamental standpoint, like how to block best, Um, and so it was a lot of trial and error. Like I think for a while I was quite obsessed with improving, and I've always been that way. Like with whatever competitive thing I get into, I always look up like the best players. What are they doing? What kind of decks are they playing? So like I'm a classic net decker. If um, just a very competitive person, so I'll always look up the best tactics and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it was natural for me to want to improve at this game, and when I first had success with this seasonals, I was like, wow, I could actually be good at this. And that made me really, really want to get um, into learning more as a competitor and interacting with the community and stuff like that. Because I think my first seasonals was definitely a little bit of a fluke if I look back on it.
What did you play? That was like when Go Hard was like the big deck, right?
Yeah, so it was Go Hard and Feel the Rush meta, right? Those were the two main decks. So I had this crazy idea. I was like, what if I just play 3 Notify and 3 Deny in every single deck I bring? And I guess that worked out for me, but it was kind of a stupid idea conceived in my shower. I was like, what if I do this? That'd be really funny. And I guess it worked out.
Dude, that's awesome. I've always been like I'm the same. I'm like a net decker, I guess. I don't know why I say I guess.
Yeah.
I am. It's just weird. I've never really thought myself in that way. But I've been afraid to. This is something I wanted to bring up with you. I've been afraid to like pull the trigger and try and like pull like a what am I and like attack the metagame from like
Mm.
the side, or just attack it at all. I've mostly just played like the 3 best decks or like one of the consensus best lineups, and I've done fine. But like this last season, compared to like the first season, this last season, like everybody was playing the top decks. Like I didn't see like one brew or like rogue deck or anything out of like 9 rounds. Like I feel like I'm interested to get your take on this. I feel like seasonal after seasonal, it's become more and more like less wild west, like just more people playing meta decks, more people playing the good decks, more people having tuned lists. Like it seems like there's power creep in all things, like even just like in sports, right? Like the way people played baseball, football, basketball, like in the 70s compared to how they play today, it's like totally different, right? And like
Yeah.
you see that in gaming also. And so I feel like the community is just kind of getting like smarter and smarter, and like the information's getting out there more. Which I feel like also like the two lineups that I lost to were ones that were kind of soft targeting Scion. They kind of just like got me. But they were still good decks. I think they were playing like Lee Sin Zoe probably. And then maybe also Scion. So I love that you like pulled the trigger on that first one. I'm just being like, what if I just like ran this super rogue craziness that it worked out for you? But that's something that I really want to do. I think because like the next seasonals is probably also not going to qualify for anything as far as we know. So I would really like. I think I'm going to like force myself, unless the meta's like wide open or something, but it just never has been really for a while. But I kind of try and force myself to just like do that, to like soft target whatever like the hotness is, because there's almost always like one deck going in that everyone's like afraid of, or that's like tearing up the ladder or something. What are your thoughts on that? Because I know like we talk people against hard targeting all the time. For anyone that doesn't know, soft targeting is kind of like where you're just sort of like comfortable into a certain deck or archetype, and like hard targeting is where you want to just like smash it every time, where you just always beat this deck, but often leaves you vulnerable to like other parts of the meta. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on stuff like this, of like soft targeting or just playing like what's powerful?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people describe like soft target or hard targeting as like gambly. You know, if you don't find the deck you're hard targeting, then you're not going to win. That's like the general argument. But I think that's like a little bit flawed, right? Because if you're going to bring the best decks yourself, then you're going to play the best decks against the best decks, and it's a mirror matchup. You're not going to really do better than 50-50, assuming your opponent's like somewhat reasonably decent at the deck. So you're just
sure.
You're taking a different gamble. You're saying I'm going to draw better. I'm going to play a little bit better, and I'm gonna sneak away with this not too favorable matchup, or just like completely even matchup. Whereas with the hard target, it's like, yes, I have a pretty high chance of finding this deck I will absolutely obliterate and win almost 80-90% of the time with my lineup. But sometimes I'm going to get a deck that won't, and I don't know exactly what the odds will work out to in any given meta, but it's a risk you have to take if you want to move up. I used to be, so I forced myself to do the hard target thing off the beginning, and as I kind of grew as a player, I kind of felt like, you know what, I'm actually pretty good at this game. I can bring the best decks, and I can just play better, and that's completely fine to take that route too. But I think I've kind of come around that, like, if you really respect your opponents, you kind of want to expect them to play well also. And so something like a hard target lineup, or even just like a slight soft target that improves your chances, is definitely a good thing to look into. Yeah.
Yeah, that I've come to the same sort of conclusion. I think early on I didn't respect my opponents nearly as much, for I think somewhat good reason. Like there was a lot of people that just didn't play a lot, or that were just still new to the game. And I feel like I was saying earlier, like the power creep is kind of there. Like just everyone's getting better. Everyone's lists are better. So yeah, and you know what? I'm excited though. I'm excited to finally be able to like try to like metagame, basically like trying to like attack the perceived good decks, because it's fun. I enjoy doing that. I hate playing like just like rock paper scissors like what everyone else is playing. Shoot, I had a follow-up question. Oh, okay. So things change though when you go to the top 32. You have quite a bit of experience with this. So we talk about this all the time. Obviously, a tournament of 1,000 people compared to a tournament of 32 people, you are expecting to face much different decks. How talk to us a little bit about like how much things change when you get to top 32. Have you changed your lineups quite a bit, or have you kind of like just stuck with what was working? Have you noticed what other people tend to do, like how much shifting there is there? And I mean, this format like decently well. You've like played in the World's Open rounds. I'm curious if you were in top 32 yet again, what you would maybe think about bringing as well.
Honestly, as you were talking about the soft target, hard target thing, like I think it really depends, like meta to meta, what you want to be doing. Like some decks are just like not targetable,
too good.
And honestly,
like
I kind of like TF is you're not going to be able to target it. I mean, I will say I did target it in that meta when I went to top cut because I just brought a bunch of aggro because that was like the way you could do it is you play aggro into it, and then obviously I lost to TF Fizz because it's too crazy a deck and it just beats your aggro anyways. But yeah, like that's kind of what I mean. Like, you know, the decks like that are really, really strong. And I kind of feel like Scion's in a similar spot. Like there are decks that beat it, right? But it sometimes just steals wins. I mean, we were testing some ideas to see if we could look into like targeting Scion, targeting Poppy, targeting Zoe Nami. And I guess the one that's really stuck is that you can actually just target Zoe Nami. And I know some people think like, yeah, I mean, it's still going to sneak away with wins also. Like, so it's really hard to decide what you want to do. The one thing about top 32 is you know which opponents you're going to play and in which rounds, right? Because you know the bracket exactly. And everyone in the tournament knows the bracket exactly. So you know.
Yeah, real quick, what do you think of that? Do you? I feel like I don't love that. I feel like it would be better if they randomized it going into top 32. Because like we were talking about before the cast started, one time you were 7-1, and then you conceded the last round because you only needed to go 7-2. Because that's something I was thinking about even when I was like at 6-0. I was like, if I'm 8-0, do I just concede that last round so I'm not 9-0? Because like the thinking is that like a lot of times very good players will be at 7-2 because they'll have the tiebreaker, they'll be for the ladder. And you don't want to play against them like in the first round or whatever. So that's what you decided to do, to not go 8-1. So you were like, I
was 7-1 and I was like ranked 35, 30 something on the ladder. And so I knew I was going to qualify. I mean, at the time, like the one before was like 40. So I was like, damn, that's definitely going to be safe. I'm 30. And now it cuts off there, which is like crazy. But at the time I was safe, I thought. So my idea.
Could you imagine?
if I had done that and not made it, I would have been furious. But no, my idea in my head was that, look, if I'm a high ladder player, I'm going to be high in the 8-1 bracket, right? And if I'm high in the 8-1 bracket, that means I'm likely going to be matched up with the 7-2 in the first round of the seasonals. And the 7-2s are all top 40 ladder players. So they're going to be strong for sure. In my head, if I conceded, I would be more likely to play an 8-1 and possibly an 8-1 who's just like some rank 400 player who just happened to, get really, really lucky and run hot in a seasonal. And obviously everyone who makes it to 8-1 or 7-2 is a really strong player, so it is a little bit flawed. But, that was my idea in my head. So I scooped. And it's weird to think that that's like a decision you could be thinking about, or at least should be thinking about. I know Mo, when he went 9-0, he was like, dang, I got completely owned by being 9-0 because he was playing Jordan round 1. Because Jordan went through top 32. What am I, for those who don't know who Jordan is. And that completely screwed him, right? So, yeah, it's definitely really, really weird that that's just how it's done.
It's, there was also Kever 24 had to go against Raptor.
Yeah.
Who was the last person to squeak in or whatever in the first round when he went 9-0. So I think they should just randomize it because then also it skews things with like learning, like trying to figure out what your opponent played in the open rounds. Like that's not always public information, right? Like if someone doesn't stream or share, or I guess can you get it? You can probably get it off of like the API. Or whatever.
You can grab it off the API or Runeterra AR. I know people lock their accounts, but if you don't lock your account, you're at a disadvantage. If someone like really wants to go to the effort of it, they can go to the Runeterra API directly and pull your stats and stuff, which is like just like a completely pointless thing. I remember like for the 5th seasonal, like I was talking with Bay and he was saying like, yeah, I'm just checking my opponent's like matches like every day, like every hour I'm checking his matches to see what they're playing, right? Which is just like an awful thing to be worrying about, right?
Yeah, leading up to the top 32. Yeah, exactly. So like, just randomize it and just gets rid of all of those issues
Yeah,
that we're talking about. Makes it more of a fair playing field. Um, I'm actually planning on like writing up a little like follow up to my original letter to
mm,
Riot. So that's something that I'll add in there because I don't really thought about that before. Speaking of Riot and their announcement about like stuff stuff not coming until like next year, and like, have you seen all the tweets and stuff about people being like, oh, like Runeterra is dying,
yeah,
and like they're sharing pictures of like 27 viewers on Twitch and stuff like that. I have some thoughts on
yeah.
this that I want to discuss with you, but like, why do you kick it off? What are your thoughts on all of this? What did you think when you saw the announcement? Where's your head at with it?
Um, is my internet good? I don't know.
Oh, you're back.
That you're cutting out for me, which probably is on
Can you
my
hear me
end.
now?
Yeah, yeah. Hello. Oh, I'm gonna
Okay.
retry
I can
it.
hear you now.
Okay, wait. Hello, hello.
Back?
Yeah, yeah.
Is
Um,
does your internet service provider run off of potatoes or something? What is this?
yeah. It's
Who are
student
you with?
Wi-Fi. It's not great. I think I'm with like Start.ca. Yeah,
Oh, okay, that
they're
explains
doing
it.
their
Okay.
best, but okay. I think I got your point though, and it probably recorded fine for you. It was basically. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Actually, just remind me
Yeah,
what
I'll
you were
do.
saying.
So basically, like, the announcement that came out,
Oh yeah,
and Riot being like, we're not going to have anything until next year. A lot of people were unhappy about that. Having to wait so long. I mean, I was a little disappointed. Um, and then also just like, the play rates are obviously down. Qualifying for Masters was like half the LP that you normally need. There's been like nobody streaming. There's been nobody watching, nobody streaming. Like 28 viewers at one point and stuff. So people are all like uh, saying that Riot's not doing it, or saying that Riot or the team's not doing enough, that the game's dying, all this stuff.
mm-hmm.
It all kind of like goes together. So I wanted to get your thoughts on it. Maybe starting with like the announcement
Yeah.
and like where you'd like to see competitive go.
Obviously, it's a bit disappointing that the announcement was like, yeah, well, we're not going to do this. Doesn't matter. We're not doing anything immediately, and we're thinking about it. But it is nice that they said they're thinking about it, right? At least they know the format's not perfect and that they want to do more. I guess we just kind of have to blindly trust that it will be enough. But in terms of like the community dying or like the game dying, I don't think the game's going to die. I think people are just taking breaks, and the big viewer streamers like Alan or BBG, they're taking breaks. I mean, Majin's taking a break too. Like he's not hasn't been streaming or doing much Runeterra stuff for a while, and that's completely fine. Like I was talking about, I think players do need breaks, and it's kind of unrealistic for us to spend 8 hours every day playing Legends of Runeterra, unfortunately. Um, and so I completely understand, and I understand that people are worried because the Twitch viewers are low, but I'm hopeful for the balance patch that's coming up next week. That should be exciting, as well as I think we're supposed to get a bunch of content in November as well, so that should be a lot of fun too. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see, right?
Yeah. So on the announcement, I didn't take it as like them like being like we're thinking. I took it as them being like, hey, we did all these things, and now we need to go like back into the lab and
Mm,
like analyze it, figure it out, because a lot of things went wrong, but a lot of
yeah.
things went right also. The change from I think 5-round seasonals to 9-round seasonals was a nice improvement. Even just having seasonals, even just having worlds at all, which they didn't necessarily need to have. Um, and so and then also it seemed like seasonals and then worlds were kind of like how do you say, like kind of like band-aided on or whatever. Like they weren't like, I don't know, like they were definitely planned or whatever, but they weren't. I think now they need to figure out how everything works together, right? Like how does the ladder and what's that other thing called? I always forget. One thing on the weekends. Gauntlet. How do the ladder and Gauntlet work? And like what does seasonals look like, and what does like worlds look like, and is there going to be like some sort of pro league or something? Please. And just like how it all works and fits together, right? Because there was lots of sticking points. There's, I mean, even just the stuff that we're talking about now. And so like seasonals is still going. I was going to mention when you were talking about like skipping this one, how funny it was that like, you know, the first seasonals when it came out was like such a big deal. It was like, oh my goodness. Even the second one still was exciting. And here we are, like, I don't know, what is it, Seals 6 or 7? Something like that.
6, yeah.
And it's literally just everyone's like, seen it, been there, done that. Not everyone, but like, you know what I mean? It's not special anymore. Which is weird because of it was such a big deal when it first came out. It was like, this is it. This is the big time. And it's kind of like, what do they need to do? They need to like keep cranking it up, making it more exciting. I will say that like, I think most of us have realized that, like yourself especially, that basically you win or you don't get much at all. Like third, fourth was what, $800? Is that right?
Yeah, I think top 2 and first is pretty good, but yeah, it's not much, right? But if you win 4 times or go fourth times, it's almost as much as the second place guy makes.
So yeah, coming fourth in a 1,000-person tournament and getting $800 is like, I mean, it is a free tournament, of course, but that's still like, that's quite the accomplishment. You can't even crack like $1,000. Shoot, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, so basically, like, I think that they need to take time and figure out like what competitive is going to look like, and they just like they need time. Like, yeah, as you've seen with like Hearthstone and Magic and like all these other games, like their organized play got like just blown up because they did things not particularly well, or they like knee-jerk reaction, changed directions and stuff. They didn't like have a fleshed out system. So that's how I took it, was that they're like, you know what, like this is it's a massive project. It's a lot of work, and they need to like, you know, get it right. So they have, like you said, they have the big PvE coming next month, and I think they're going to do stuff with Arcane. That's what I have been hearing. The Netflix show. Probably there's going to be like, with all the games, there's going to be like events going on with the show, which is coming out at the beginning of November. That'd be cool. So yeah, this is cool, right? I'm excited for that. So basically they could see that they're busy for the rest of the year. This is a huge project. They're like, you know what, we'll take our time. And like for me, like the game's not dying at all. Like if they just made a whole bunch of buffs and changes to the game, and like, it's because like every time they do that, it's practically a new game. It's fantastic. It's like almost better than releasing new cards a lot of the time, because a lot of those just suck. Whereas when they touch things, everything like changes in a major way. But like if they just did that, had a huge balance change, so it's like, oh, new game, and then they were like, oh, by the way, we're having this huge prize pool tournament, or like this tour of tournaments. It's like, everyone just comes flooding back, because the game's great. I think they just need to figure out how to, I don't know what you call this, like present it to us, like a way to play best of 3 all the time, tournament structures, like all that stuff. So I didn't take it as a bad thing. I was disappointed because I was like, after Worlds, I was like, yeah, what's next? Let's go. Come on, next big thing. But I didn't take it as a bad thing. So fingers crossed. I will say though, if like it's not super exciting at the beginning of next year, like that'll be a pretty big letdown. If they're just like, oh yeah, I don't know, we're gonna have seasons every month, but it's gonna be a $10,000 prize pool. Like, what? So I hope they knock it out of the park. I'm like, and I think most of us are like pretty hopeful, excited for all that stuff. What would you like to see while we're on the topic? What kind of stuff do you think would, I don't know, make you want to play the game more? Maybe what do you think would bring people in, or keep the competitive community going?
Obviously, like sometimes I'm a bit of a realist, and I don't think it's something they could do or would do, but I would like to see a pro tour. I think that'd be fun. I think having like a series of people you can get familiar with and you can see competing over and over is more exciting as a viewer than seasonals where a bunch of people you don't know yet have just show up, and a lot of people don't make it back a lot of time. You don't see a lot of the same faces, so you don't get to. And as like a producer, like from Riot's side, they don't get to promote any of the players because they don't know who's going to make it to the top 32s. So I think it'd be exciting to have something like a more closed circuit for people to qualify to. One that would make seasonals or whatever competitive format they have more exciting. And also like just that itself would be super exciting, even as just a viewer to have.
Yeah, I mean, Worlds was fantastic. It popped off. It got a bunch of viewers. It was great to watch. Yeah, one of the things you mentioned about like the same people coming back, that was one problem that Magic had for a long time, was that because there was so much randomness in the game, like it was constantly the top 8 would often shift around from one pro tour to another. I was thinking about this recently. I feel like Runeterra has a higher skill ceiling than like a lot of other games. Like it seems to me like there's a reason like the best players continually win. It seems a lot like the randomness of it, the luck of it is like pretty low, and the skill I don't know what you call that, like the skill ceiling, the skill expression, basically, like long story short, the players that are best are gonna win a lot more than the players that are worse than them, and that allows for like yourself to like top 32 all 4 seasonals, or like what am I or Bay or whomever, or like look at like Worlds. Worlds was like pretty stacked. Even the Worlds qualifiers were all stacked with like some of the best, just like the best grinders, the best players. So I think that like, how do you think that fact? One, do you agree with that? Do you think that's true? Like compared to like other games, and two, do you think that like that changes things for Runeterra? Because I was thinking it would. That like there's less It's like for me, Runeterra is kind of like Texas Hold'em, but like I don't know, ridiculously deep stack or something. Like if you had a Texas Hold'em tournament where like the blinds went up ridiculously slowly and it was insanely deep stacked, like the best players would win a lot of the time. And that's kind of how it feels like to me with Runeterra, where like there's not a lot of randomness and you're able to outplay your opponents a lot, and like the best players will win quite a bit.
Yeah, no, I mean,
okay.
On top of just like people competing and playing like really tight, like obviously, meta calls, as we were talking about before, is a big thing. Like there's a bunch of strong players, but if one makes the better meta call, then they're going to be the one who takes it down. And I think there's a lot of skill to that in particular, and there's also skill within the game itself. Yeah, definitely people who are more comfortable on a deck, who are more practiced on a deck, they'll win a large majority of the time, and it really does. It was really highlighted, in my opinion, at Worlds. Like I think Yamato and Alan were probably the best players there, and they outplayed their opponents all the way across the board. And I think, like obviously, it can be shown that Runeterra is a very, very skill intensive game. I guess we still haven't found the word for this, but the better players
skill
win.
Intensive, I like that.
Yeah.
I think skill intensive makes a lot of sense. And so I feel that like that allows for like a pro tour or like a series of events to have that like hype where like if you're hyping whatever Alan and Bay and what am I and yourself, and all the other, I'm sorry if I'm not mentioning your name, all the other good players out there, a lot of like a huge percentage of those players are going to be going deep in the tournament. If you're highlighting the top players. And so I feel like that's yet another advantage that Runeterra has over other games, that it has this ability to promote players and have these storylines going. That's something, yeah, I feel like they could definitely do some more of. One of the things that I'm not super happy about is like their, I don't know, their communication. Like, do you ever notice on Twitter, a lot of their stuff is just like art, which is like cool, but like that's like their post for the day is like some little quote and like some sketches from like one of the characters, and like I'm all for it. I want that, but like also like more. I feel like there should be more communication and more like promoting players. I tried to get like I tried to get them to like tweet out about like our tournament series that we were going to put together. They're like, I'm kind of busy. I was like,
yeah, I mean, I think
cool.
I think overall they're like their goal is to promote the game, right? Ultimately with their socials and their accounts and stuff like that. And I guess competitive isn't the only thing that they want to be promoting, and that's too bad. I mean, I would like it to be, but it's just not right now. I think a lot of their goal is to, kind of be like a world building tool for like the League of Legends universe right now. Like that's kind of a big part of the game, and it's important, and it is part of why I really like Legends of Runeterra. Like I think all the cards have a ton of flavor, and the art is amazing, and obviously that's a big part of why people play. So I think it is definitely something they want to promote as well. But I do agree with you. Like I think there's just not enough stuff for the competitive player like me or you.
Yeah, and like I love all that stuff too. Like I really enjoy the lore and the art and like it's all fantastic. I love getting sucked into it. So like it's not that I don't want to see those tweets. That wasn't what I was trying to get.
Yeah.
But it's just like that's it for the day.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's Twitter. You could like tweet every hour and like you'd be fine. So yeah, basically just like more stuff and just like I don't know. I see a lot of like the TFT tweets and they're just like they're interacting with their community and they're cracking jokes and stuff, and like there just seems like there's a lot more going on, whereas like I go over to Twitter and like I don't know, I'm like there's a tweet, okay, and there's like one of those like what are those like a dust devil or whatever, like the thing that blows by and
the bunnies.
yeah, one of those goes by, and so that leads to that like whole perception of like the game is dying or whatever. So, yeah, I don't know. The game's great though. This is what I always come back to. I always come back to the game is really good, and like that's what, like I think things will be fine. It's just like once they like sort some stuff out or want to push like competitive more or whatever it is, like people will come, or if they want to push marketing, like it's pretty easy to get people to try the game, and once you do, I think a lot of people are like really interested in it. They just need more, like, there just needs to be more everything. Like, in the game itself, like, there's best of one ladder, and then it's like, what else is there? There's labs, which are cool. But
yeah,
it's casual.
I think a lot of people love labs, to be honest. Like, obviously, it's not like the competitive constructed format, but I mean, I like labs. Like, labs is a ton of fun, and I think it's a great way to bring in a new audience.
Did you play that new PvE thing? Whatever it was? Was that just like a new...
The Bilgewater event thing?
Mm-hmm.
I did, yeah. It was pretty fun.
I didn't play that one.
Oh.
So I heard a lot of good things.
Yeah, it's exciting. Yeah, you played the Lab of Legends thing, right?
Yeah, the one where you go all the power-ups and like do all the crazy stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, except you like get to go around a map, and yeah, it's just a lot of fun. It's a pretty good mode, I think, for a lot of people who want to get interested in the game but aren't like who might have that like ranked ladder anxiety. I think that's a big thing for a lot of people. It's like I like this game, but I don't want to play 1v1s against other good players or whatever. And I personally love that, but that's not for everyone, which is fine. And I think labs is a good way for people to get interested.
Yeah, I mean, most people plateau. Like, even when I've been at the highest points of the ladder, when I've had like 500 LP or whatever, like I still just like would hit a plateau at some point where I just like couldn't really climb anymore for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Like my strategy or my deck or whatever I was doing was just like did not have a high enough win percentage to keep climbing. And then it just kind of, it gets boring, or it gets like frustrating, or it gets like toxic. And so everyone finds that, whether it's at like gold or it's at, rank 30 or something, most everyone hits like a wall eventually. And it gets frustrating.
Yeah.
And like, kind of sucks the joy out of the game, becomes like a grind almost. And yeah, so I get that. And like lots of people I talk to have ladder anxiety, or even like seasonals anxiety of actually just playing the event itself. It's very common. So the lab was good. So this is why we should have limited. Have you ever played like a limited format at all?
No, I haven't. I've heard you talk about it like pretty much every time we do the
So
show.
good. It's so freaking good. So this is what it is. Imagine labs is fun because it's like kind of wonky and kind of weird and like out there, right? And you get to sort of fulfill like some fantasies of like, what if my guys just did super busted crazy things? Well, that's like not a good competitive format.
Yeah.
But you could take a lot of that same like doing weird stuff that you would never normally be able to do, and you could take it over to limited, where like, imagine you could play cards from all regions in your deck. And now like, you just have these like crazy interactions. And then also you're forced to play with cards that you never would, because like you just have to squabble together a deck out of like, you basically have like a rubber band, a poro, and like a paperclip. And you just have to like make like a deck out of that. And it's just like you find all these weird interactions that like cards that you didn't know existed, or interactions you didn't know stuff like worked that way. And it's always new and fresh and exciting because you always have a different deck and they always have a different deck. It's not like, week 4 of a new meta, you're like, oh yeah, Scion, huh?
You mean like day 4? It's usually like that, to be honest.
Yeah, I was being generous.
Yeah.
I was being super generous. I was trying to not be a dick about it for once. About how quickly metas get solved, and best of one kind of like is not super fun. But that's why limited is so much fun, because there's a lot of skill expression in it, because you have just a bunch of options, and your opponent does too. So it's very skill intensive. And it's also just always unique and fun and exciting because it's just always different. So long story short, I would love to see like even like the way that Magic draft works, which if you don't know, you basically just get like a Magic, like you get a pack of like 13 or 15 cards. You pick one, everyone passes their pack to the left. You get a new pack, you pick one, you keep going. I feel like that would work really well in Runeterra. You just have like one champion per pack, and you typically have like 3 of whatever the like uncommon, like the next rarity down, and then like 10 of the like the basic cards. I think that would work really well in Runeterra. I think that would like, yeah, I think it'd be fantastic, honestly. I forget where I got on this whole tangent, but more game modes they definitely need.
Yeah.
Did you ever play the 2 versus 2?
I did briefly. It was kind of weird. It was basically just like
it was a little
1v1.
Yeah. I liked what they were onto though. Like, if they can crack that, like is it 2 versus 2 or 5 versus 5, they can make that like make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Like I like the divvying up of resources. That seems something like that would kind of make it.
Yeah.
Sorry, my cat's joining the podcast. Hey, Kitty. Okay, go down now. At least she wants food. But like, because like you say, normally it's like you're just playing like versus one other person. In Magic, they have team events where it's 3 versus 3, but it's like you just play the person in front of you, and whichever team wins 2 of those matches wins.
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes there's restrictions on deck building where you can't use the same cards, but that's about it. But the way they were doing it with the resources, being like, oh, you get a power up or you gain some health or whatever, like that made it feel like more of a team format to me. And they had talked about like maybe even making it like a 5 versus 5 like MOBA thing. Where like, oh, if you're in the middle, then you get these power ups, and like, or if you're on the sides or whatever. But I love that they're trying.
Yeah.
I love that they're going down that path, because if they can get it to work, I think that's going to be like a game changer, because no one's ever really been able to do that before. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, I like doing like team stuff. Like it is, like being able to play with other people is a lot more fun than playing by yourself. Like when we did the Brazilian like team league, that was like a lot of fun too. Even though like we were all playing like our own games, it was still like a lot of fun to like click on the Discord videos and see what other people's boards are looking like, and then like comment and hang out together. Like it was just made it a lot more enjoyable than sitting there and playing like an individual event, to be honest.
Yeah, totally. That was so much fun. For anyone that doesn't know, there's Brazil has a bunch of leagues, and we joined one of them as a team. And you're allowed to like backseat your teammates, and so like we would all just be in like one Discord chat, and then we would just share like our view, our game. And anytime like one person was done, or if like sometimes maybe some people were like you were allowed to have a sub, and so like that fourth person would like go in and out and like kind of like help out and stuff. And we were just kind of like bullshitting the whole time and like making jokes and stuff. Like, yeah, that was a lot of fun, and that's why team events are so good.
Mm-hmm.
Team draft is another thing that you do in Magic.
Ooh.
You like 3v3. We call them money drafts. At least we did for the longest time before WotC got wind of that and sounded like gambling, and then we weren't allowed to. Now they're friend drafts.
I see. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, but that's even more fun because you get to do stuff where now, because you like normally like in an 8-person draft, if you're passing good cards, like there's a good chance you won't have to play against that person with that card. But now if you open, I don't know what the most busted Runeterra card is. I guess it would be different because you could just take it. Yeah, Draven, sure. Let's just say that let's just say that you couldn't play it for some reason, but now you have to decide like, do you pass it to the other team? Because for sure you or your teammates are going to have to play against it. It adds this like other dimension of like hate drafting and stuff. That's just a lot of fun.
Cool.
Which is like the one way that team events have kind of worked in Magic, and it's like they kind of like got rid of it, or like it's just not as popular anymore. I don't know why, but for a long time it was like the thing. Okay, how about big balance patch coming up in like 4 days? Super excited for that. What do you think they will, or what do you think you would like to see them change?
I'm completely fine with it, but I feel like they'll change Nami. I think that's something they will probably look. I think at this point, like Nami's like completely fine in the meta. Like there's a lot of answers to it, but it can be kind of annoying when it really hits its stride. So that's probably something they'll touch. They'll probably add like a mana or two to its level up, or reduce its health by 1 or something, or something like that. And then maybe like Draven or Lost Soul or something like that would probably be something they might look into. Maybe Poppy. Some of those.
Yeah. I think Draven's fine. I wouldn't mind Nami getting touched maybe a little bit. I agree though. She's not like busted, but like I don't know, just playing against the deck can be so annoying where they're just like, oh, you're at 18, like kill you. Like just like one unit or whatever, just out of nowhere. But like I like that deck's a deck. I think Nami's like cool. But maybe like, yeah, I don't know, maybe one more level up, like mana.
Yeah. Even that probably would be enough, because then you can't play it on turn 4 and have it
go off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind seeing that. I wouldn't mind seeing them revert some things here and there also. Eventually. Like I'd like to see Fiora come back eventually, perhaps.
That could be cool.
Or at least try it. I think Draven's fine. I think Lost Soul needs to get touched for sure. I think that card's busted. Draven's very good though. Let's see. What are those that you? Oh, Poppy. I think Poppy needs to get touched.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. I think like Looping Telescope shouldn't loop.
Oh yeah, I thought they said they were going to do that. I think Ruben's stream, he was like, "Yeah, we didn't mean to do that. Like, we're going to get rid of, Traveler looping or Looping Telescope looping and stuff like that." Like, yeah, obviously it's just really annoying. Why does he get infinite cards from one card? It's stupid.
Yeah, that's super annoying. What else is there? Oh, I want Targon to come back. So I want like a little bit of Targon buff, even if it's like make Fangs a 3/2 again. That's not like huge. It's not like Targon's gonna come roaring back.
Yeah.
If it's just that, I think that's fine. Like start there maybe. Even like star shaping to 5 is like, it's not making a huge difference, I don't think. But like Targon basically being completely out of the format kind of sucks.
Yeah, well they have Chloe Nami though.
And they got Zoe
like, they have decks.
Yeah.
They have Zoe. That's it. All the other champs are terrible. I would honestly rather see buffs than like nerfs to a lot of things. I don't think anything's like outrageously oppressive right now. Maybe Scion needs to come down a little bit. That deck's very, very good. But I'd like to see like Diana buffs or Leona buffs or something. Like give Leona Overwhelm back, or I don't know, some underplayed champs. Cool. Like I'd like to see a Katarina rework. Like that champ is awful. At the very least, like make her champion spell not Shunpo. It's the most useless thing in the world.
Dude, you don't like Shunpo?
No, okay, I like Shunpo as a card. But when you have leveled cat, you play a cat and then you get Shunpo. It's so pointless.
You need to rally twice exactly, that turn, okay? For like 1 million mana. Yeah, that is pretty dumb. Yeah, I agree. Buffs are huge because I mean, look at like Make It Rain and what's that other one? The like plus O plus 3 plus 3 plus O.
Twin Disciplines.
Twin Disciplines. Like those made a huge. Yeah. When those went from 3 to 2, that made like a huge difference in the meta. So buffing stuff like that, I think, is pretty cool. Also, then I wonder if it feels better for people. Like if you spent a bunch of gems or money or whatever to buy your deck, and it didn't get nerfed, but other stuff got buffed that was then kind of bad for it. Like that probably feels better, I would imagine.
Yeah, no, like if you're like a big Vlad fan, I'm sure you're super excited to get another Vlad buff where, you know, you can imagine your deck be good again, even though it probably won't. I think cards like, I think Brahms got some fans. I also just realized that Katarina's champ spell is Death Lotus, I think, and not Shunpo, which just goes to show how bad she is because I don't even know. And I play this game like all the time.
That's what I thought too. And then I was just like, I don't fucking know. I don't play that card. I'm probably not. Yeah, definitely seeing. It's also just fun to see stuff that you haven't seen in a while. Like I'm kind of tired of Zoe. Sorry, Bae. But like, just like get some other champs in there. Like I feel like it's been a lot of Draven, a lot of, but it's a lot of whatever comes out. Hey, like a lot of like the new stuff tends to get pushed and get pushed
very good.
I'd also like to see some like, just in card design in general. Like this last Bandle City was like kind of boring. I thought with the champs, like so many just like 3 mana quick attack champs, or just three mana champs in general. It was kind of like I feel like we need them to do like a little bit more than just be like big things that kind of get bigger and like have some sort of ability. Like they need to be more interesting.
I thought like Echo was really, really cool, and I saw like, oh, he puts things in the deck and you can predict, and then the card's like awful, but I'd like to see him buffed off. Like that's something I will add to my list. But like some of the champ releases are kind of boring. Like Poppy is kind of boring. She's good. She's not very interesting.
Ziggs.
Oh, Ziggs is big boring.
He's good. Super boring. Yeah. Doesn't really do anything. He's just a 3/4 for 3 that bashes.
And it just turns out those are the best too. Like they aren't anything interesting, but I guess they're the best, which is fine. But I would like to see something, you know, crazy. Like Lysandra is just crazy, and she was good for a while. She got nerfed really hard, but like she did some really cool things.
Yeah, totally agree. Even like, what about what's that 5 mana 4/4/1 that like with the wolf and the spirit?
Kindred. Kindred's awful.
Kindred sucks, but Kindred was cool, right? Like looked really cool. Like there'd be like all kinds of cool stuff you could do with Kindred. Even Viego should be really good. Cool. Like Viego should be nuts, and like he was kind of good for like a minute, but for some reason still not quite good enough. Why do you think that is? Why do you think these like they're expensive? A lot of them, even Senna. Like Senna's kind of cool. Also, just like 5 mana. Like the expensive champs need to be a lot better. I think. Yeah, because like they just don't see any play.
That's true. I think like it's just too much of a commitment to one play, right? Like when you play like a 5-drop on turn 5, then they're gonna play like a 3 1-drops or like go a 2-drop, 3-drop.
They're still gonna have 3 1-drops.
No. They're gonna play like a 2-drop and a 3-drop, and then they're gonna remove your Viego for like 3 mana with like Flock or something like that, and then you're like, well, I guess I just lose then, which is not really fair. Like it doesn't really take advantage of the style you really want most of the time, because it's like a 1-turn play, but you want to like play slower, so you aren't able to do other stuff with it. So like committing to it usually like ends you the game, and that's why something like I guess the Elise Vi deck is very popular now, and that's why Vi is so much better than Senna, because you play the Vi and she's a control tool in herself, whereas something like Viego he's supposed to be your threat, but he just sits there. He's just a body, and he's not able to do anything to interact with your opponent's board or disrupt their game plan, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I read somewhere that they wanted the average game to be something like around 9 turns.
Yeah, 8 to 9 turns
like,
was what their goal was, yeah.
Yeah, so like if your champ is coming out on turn 5, like you theoretically have 3 or 4 more turns for that thing to like win you the game, but like none of those champs we just mentioned are like doing that.
Yeah.
Like they need a lot of time to get going. What do you think about that? I thought that was like kind of interesting that they said they wanted the average game to be around 8 or 9 turns. And I mean, I guess that's average.
Mm-hmm.
So like you have to take into account that like, some games will be over on turn 5 or 6. It's kind of rare.
Yeah.
But it does happen. But then I guess that counteracts like games that go to like turn 12 or 13, which is also kind of rare.
Yeah.
So I guess that's kind of the sweet spot. It's not like they want every game
to be exactly 8 rounds.
Average.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting. It kind of, you can kind of see what they're going for, right? Well, when you see like some of their decks, like the Matron deck, it just ended the game on turn 8, and that was it. Scion, he comes down on turn 7, turn 8, ends the game most of the time. So I guess that's what they want to aim for. It's kind of sucks for like cards like Aurelian Soul, Water Mother's Call, or stuff like that. But I mean, I guess if you want to play your control-y styles, like you can be on the above the average, and that's completely fine. And then there'll just be some aggro decks that went on turn 3 or turn 4 or something like that, in order to balance it out. I don't know what they want to go for.
Yeah, good luck. I feel like this all comes back to best of 3. Do you think you could play more of these cards that we just mentioned, or like control archetypes or mid-range archetypes, if we had like more best of 3? Because then you could like try and target, like for instance, the Senna Vi deck you were just talking about, that came out as a deck that could target like some of these aggro decks or Scion decks, right? So like, do you think if we had more best of 3 options that like we'd be seeing more of this? I think so. I would try to adapt the meta more if I could just play best of 3 all the time without having like friend request or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. It's like something that would enable like a searching for, that third control deck, that third Demacia deck, like maybe, Poppy, Sivir, but what's your third Demacia deck? And then you can play around with some other ideas, and then maybe Quinn becomes the best card in the game. I have my doubts, but maybe.
I miss Quinn.
But yeah, it's like there's so much more to explore in best of 3 than there is in like best of 1, because you can only play so many decks if you're just going to lose to Scion all the time. But if you can ban Scion, that opens a whole lot of possibilities. You can try out a lot of different decks. You can play. I don't know why I keep going back to this Quinn example, like Scouts, because you're not playing against that Noxus PNZ deck that will always dominate you or something like that. So yeah, I think best of 3 is a lot healthier of a format, but I can understand why they don't want to have it as the main ladder, right? It takes a long time. And I don't know if they want to, like with the player base as it is already, it's kind of small. I don't think they want to split it into a best of 1 and best of 3 ladder. So that's definitely a challenge they have to address. And I'm sure they're looking into it.
Yeah, I think people are just like, those arguments against it though are people just like making stuff up. Like they don't actually know. Mm-hmm. They're just like, which fucking pisses me off because I want it so bad, and people are like, "Oh no, the player base can't support it." I'm like, you have 0 anecdotal evidence to go off of. You're just assuming that you know how many people will play. True. They might be right. I'm not saying they're not. It would be much easier to do if we all just played on one server, like Magic does, or if we had cross shard, I guess cross shard ladder. Yeah, there's a lot of things they could do differently. Speaking of playing best of 3 more often, though, before this season, I got invited to a little like 19-person funsy testing tournament, and it was awesome. It was like double elimination. I went like 2-2, but I got like 4 matches in, and I was like, oh, that little bit of testing was like still significant more than my 0 that I normally do, which made me realize how little scrimming I actually do, which is like basically none. Shocker that I haven't top 32 one yet. But everyone in our Discord has been asking for this. So we are, shameless plug, we are now going to be doing Wednesday night Runeterra, 5 p.m. Pacific. in the Mastering Runeterra Discord on like Battlefly or whatever. Basically, it's going to be 4 rounds starting at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Just everyone hanging out in the group chat, talking about stuff, having a laugh, grab a drink if you want. And just, it's supposed to be that like just fun community hanging out, and also just getting some testing in, because like even those little like a few reps with your lineup or trying different band strategies can make a huge difference. So we're going to be doing it every single Wednesday from here on out, as long as, I don't know, we want to. So make sure you come check that out. All right, well, we're hitting about an hour. Henneky, was there anything else that you wanted to talk about or cover or shout out or tell people where to find you or any of that good stuff?
No, I got nothing.
You do stream, right? Are you still streaming?
I mean, you've seen my internet today, so I have not been streaming recently, which is too bad. But I would like to, but I don't. So, yeah.
Okay. One day in the future. All right. Well, that's it for us. Henneky, thank you so much for joining me, filling in for Bay. We should do this more often, frankly, because, Bay interrupts me a lot. It's kind of annoying. You've been a fantastic guest. And that's it for us. Have a great weekend. Good luck to everyone in top 32. And we'll see you next week with a brand new season. Looking forward to it. Peace. Bye, guys.
Bye.